Hi, and welcome to the Bolshevik News. Guys, some great graphics from the European Space Agency to look over a little later on in this video. Before we do, let's just give a bit of gratitude back to those people that have been supporting us on this channel and say thank you. So guys, first of all, big thank you to the 18,500 odd subscribers we've got now on the channel. Big thank you to all the patrons that have been supporting us over the last week. As you can see, we've got 58 patrons and we've raised $190. That's amazing, but I think, you know, we're going to get a lot more people supporting us on Patreon, and in return we're going to do something a little bit special starting next week for the patrons that are supporting us there. I want to thank all those people that have supported us on PayPal over the last 4 or 5 years, and in some cases a little bit longer than that. This money is going to be used to advance our observatory. As you'll be aware, over the last week or so, we have taken it upon ourselves now to build another 6 magnetometers, which are going to go over in Canada, and there's some big news coming up on Canada in a minute. I think you're going to really be interested in that. And we're going to put 2 magnetometers over in China, maybe South Russia, and also 2 magnetometers over in Australia around the midsection. What we're trying to do is get these magnetometers in the region of the progressing overall magnetic field intensity in these regions of, over the North Pole and South Pole. And we're going to be looking at a location, ideal location, somewhere in Argentina as well, perhaps for another 2 magnetometers. Now, I've ordered already the computer breakout boards, the data loggers, the magnetometer chips. We've got the boxes that this equipment's going to go in, and we've ordered the SD cards for them. We've got to locate some power supplies for them and a few other little bits and bobs, but most of this equipment is ordered and it should be here early to mid-February, and I'm hoping to put all these magnetometers together for us around the end of February and get them where they need to be. So, we're going to be busy over the next few weeks. So for a lot of you guys that are following this topic now, and you're well aware that the Earth is going through a magnetic reversal, will also be aware of the amount of coverage that it's recently getting. And that's because of a uptick in the movement of the poles recently, which we came out 4 months in advance and told people about. We was well ahead of all the major organisations with regards to this recent uptick, which is now forcing them to advance their models. And what they're saying pretty much is there's nothing to flip out about in a lot of these articles. What they're trying to do is downplay the scale of the magnetic reversal and its effects on everything, if you ask me. If you ask me, if we was in the business of building planets, the first thing we'd probably decide to do would give the planet magnetic poles and a magnetosphere as a result of that. And that would protect the planet, first of all, from harmful radiation, which would be inbound from not only our solar system, our sun, but inbound from the rest of the universe. One of the major things that supports life is a healthy magnetosphere. None of these news articles really pick up on that fact or even mention it. Now, there's a few things to mention in this article, but I think you have to read in between the lines as well as to what they're actually saying, so that you can get some of the truth out of what these university experts, professors, doctors and whatever in the field are talking about. One of them is the pole's recent speed up is just one of a number of anomalies excuse me, that have unexpectedly thrown the world's magnetic field map slightly out of whack and prompted an earlier than scheduled update, which is currently delayed by the US governmental shutdown. That might sound dramatic, but it's not going to send anyone using modern navigation systems into a spin, because GPS doesn't rely on the magnetic field. Now, what they're saying here is that at some point it's going to be almost impossible for somebody to rely on one of the oldest forms of navigation, magnetism, as a source of navigating. And what they're saying is, so long as people have got GPS, they won't have to worry about it. And this professor also states it isn't a sign the magnetic field, the big bubble of magnetism that helps protect us from cosmic rays, is weakening, or the poles are about to flip. Now guys, this is a professor, and he should be fully aware of all the symptoms that take place during a magnetic reversal. If the poles are going to reverse, as we will see in a clip later on, which I'm about to show you over Canada, something very strange happening. If our magnetic poles reverse, the magnetosphere will weaken, and I've got to say this, the magnetosphere has already weakened, and it is even said it's weakened to at least 20%, but I think it's more along the lines to 25, maybe even 30%, maybe even 30% in the not too distant future, because things are starting to really accelerate now over the North Pole at least, and I'll show you that in a minute in a clip. Guys, I'm going to get there. I don't want to keep you hanging any longer, because I want to show you what Swarm have recently put out. So my point is this, we have seen in the last 100 years gradual change in progression of the magnetic North Pole over the Northern Hemisphere. As it's been moving over there, it has gone up, as I've said before, in 3 or 4 different gear shifts, which means it's accelerated at one point and then gone along at that speed, and then accelerated again and then gone along at that speed, and it's done that 4 times, covering more distance in shorter spaces of time. It's recently started to behave a little bit more weird over the Northern Hemisphere, and I'm going to show you why. So guys, I can't help being a little bit excited about what I'm about to show you, because we're going to call it before these organisations do. It's great that the government shut down in America with regards to this, because not only did I call it 4 months ago that something very strange was happening over the North Pole at the moment, or the Arctic region with regards to the magnetic poles, but also I'm about to tell you something and show you something very unique which is taking place. Now, before we do, I want to concentrate over the magnetic high intensity region that is over Canada right now. As you can see, we're at 1999. This video only goes up to 2016, so we're missing 2 years of data on this video, but this is the only video I could get that runs and shows you what is exactly happening over in the Northern Hemisphere right now with regards to the poles. Now, a couple of weeks ago, I made you guys aware yet again that our Earth recently has had 4 magnetic poles. Well, I can tell you now, guys, that one of these poles, and we're talking about the one which is over Canada, is about to disappear. And I'm going to just quickly on this video just go forward the years very quickly, and then I'll run the video, but I want to pay attention to the dissipation of the high intensity region over Canada, and you'll see what's taking place. As you can see, it is shrinking. And we're almost at 2016, so there we go. So just to give you a comparison from 1999 to how it looks in 2016, you can see that the intensity of magnetism in that region has dramatically dropped, and the one over Siberia is slightly getting stronger. Now, what does that mean for the magnetic North Pole? It's going to be shifting a lot faster towards the high intensity region at the moment in Russia, and if it disappears altogether, it's going to mean that the compass needles, which are pointing in between these 2 regions right now, is going to shift over to Siberia, Russia, and almost towards China. It is moving in a direction towards China, this high intensity region here over the North Pole, but as you can see, there is a massive difference, and not in too many years either. What is it, about 17 years there has been a dramatic change in field strength over Canada. It is going to dissipate, and it's going to do it within the next few years. And what that means is the magnetic North Pole is going to shift. Remember, the only reason our compasses are pointing in between these two high intensity regions is because of the overall intensity of two. It's going to draw the magnetic compass towards that region in the centre of the two. But as we can see, one of these regions is dissipating, which means the compass is going to shift, and it's going to accelerate a lot quicker, which means, guys, again, when we get to that 40-degree mark, which is probably only about 300 miles away, we're going to see some dramatic changes with the actual high intensity region where our compasses point, which means it's going to go into those weaker field lines, and something is going to happen more dramatic. Now, how long are we away from this? Probably 5 years, maybe 10. Which means we could be in a process of reversal within 10 years. You know, our compasses will be pointing in a completely different direction within 10 years. It could even be a lot sooner than that, guys. So we are, you know, moving into some very exciting times. Things are starting to happen a lot quicker now, even than what I anticipated. But I just want to go back, 12 months ago, when all these experts were saying a magnetic reversal would never happen in our lifetimes and almost not going to happen for 1,000 years. I said, no way. When we saw these little shifts, when we go back to the 1900s to the present day, in where it's accelerated and covered more distance in shorter spaces of time, I knew that we weren't going to be waiting 1,000 years for a magnetic pole shift, and we weren't going to be waiting 1,000 years for the effects of the magnetic pole to show up with our climate and a lot of other anomalies around the world. There is definitely right now, guys, something going on beneath our feet. And we have at the same time these so-called professors and experts from universities and mainstream organisations coming out and telling people there's nothing to worry about. Guys, we've seen recently on North School with the temperature maps, you can go on there and follow this yourself. We've seen the temperature shifting along with the magnetic direction of the pole migration. Yeah, they've came out and told us that there's been a 20% reduction in the overall magnetic field strength, or the magnetosphere. It has dropped 20%. Like I say, I think it's a lot more than that, and we'll know in time how fast the magnetosphere is dropping in strength, because we record it at the maverickstar Observatory. But they're saying that there's nothing to worry about. The only thing it's going to affect is one of the oldest forms of navigation on the planet. Jesus, can you believe this, guys? When the magnetosphere fades in strength, we have more cosmic radiation come inbound. If you add on top of that a grand solar minimum, like we've seen with the last 3 solar cycles, a depletion of sunspots, almost to the point where there isn't any hardly at this present moment. And okay, I've got to give it a little bit of credit because we are in a solar minimum, so we're less likely to see sunspots. But if we go on the last 3 cycles where we've seen them drop exponentially, and just take a trend from there, it's going to continue. The point is this: if the sun is in a solar minimum, a grand solar minimum where it stays in an hibernated state and there's no sunspots, it means we're going to get lower temperature on this planet. But my main point is this: is the sun inflates the heliosphere, which protects the whole of our solar system from cosmic radiation. If it goes into a grand solar minimum, the heliosphere will shrink, and that will allow more cosmic radiation in. If our Earth's going through a magnetic reversal, the magnetosphere weakens and does the exact same thing as what the sun does, only I believe the problem is compounded, a lot more as a result. So we have a lot more cosmic radiation inbound. Now, what's the big deal with cosmic radiation, guys? Cosmic radiation creates clouds. It creates a seeding platform for water vapour to condense on, and we end up with more clouds, and that changes the climate. And when you add this to the jet streams, and you see the jet streams over the last 20 years becoming longer, wider, slower, that's why we're getting these weather anomalies take place: floods, droughts, super cooling in regions where thousands of cattle die, and completely cop farmers unexpected. That's why farmers are lighting fires underneath cows to keep them alive, basically, not warm but alive, because of the amount that they've lost. Thousands and thousands of hectares of arable cropland perishing, crops failing, land now going offline, not being able to be used for growing crops. We're seeing China reduce its exports in staples such as rice and becoming importers. It's changing our everyday life, guys, and these professionals from these organisations downplay it, like we're seeing recently now in the media. I think what has happened is people like me on my channel that talk about only the magnetic pole and the effects of the magnetic pole has created a small vortex where they've had to come out and start talking about it. But now they're coming out and talking about it, they're downplaying it. But trust me, guys, in not too distant future, they're going to be actually saying, okay, yes, this is true, this is true. When the magnetosphere drops, we end up with more water vapor because there's more cosmic rays in the atmosphere. They're going to start, and when you add that to a grand solar minimum, yes, the sun over the last 33 years has been reluctant to produce quantities of sunspots, and as a result of that, more cosmic radiation is coming. What they're going to do is they're going to have to admit it, because they're going to be pushed back into that corner. They're going to have to come clean. But the point is, guys, as I've always said on this channel, this is a rare anomaly that has last taken place, in its full extent. What I'm talking about is a complete reversal 780,000 years ago. We simply do not know the full implications of a magnetic pole reversal, simply because we have no recorded data. Unfortunate for us, there wasn't any cave paintings that showed us, pictograms of, the depletion of a magnetosphere. And according to any mainstream science, we weren't even around here 80,000 years ago in an intelligent form. So, but that's another argument. But guys, there's no way I'm going to accept this downplaying of this anomaly that we're experiencing right now. And as you've seen over Canada, that pole is dissipating in a very, very short space of time of 10 years. Another 10 years, at that rate, that pole won't be there. And another 10 years, the magnetic pole where our compasses are pointing, or that high intensity region in between the two, has no other alternative but to shift towards Siberia, Russia and China. Now, I'm going to be talking about the effects of that progression of that high intensity region over Siberia as it moves further down south towards China, Russia, China and so on, towards the equatorial region. I'm going to be talking about that in a few videos, of the implications that those people on that side of the world are going to be experiencing with changing climate. I'm not just talking about the polar jet streams mixing with the subtropical jet streams. I'm going to be talking a lot more detail with regards to that. And also coming up in the future videos over the next weeks, I think in February we're going to be doing some build videos. So I'm going to get the camera out. You'll see me assembling these magnetometers, programming them, testing them, getting them ready. And also we're going to be selecting some people, hopefully some of our subscribers around the world, that are going to be taking receipt of these magnetometers, setting them up in their homes. We can do some vlogs on that as well, where these people get shown how to set it up and send the data back to the maverickstar Observatory, and we process it from there and show it the rest of you guys. This is the hottest anomaly that is taking place on our Earth. And there is more implications than anybody could ever be aware of. Even me, I'm going to be surprised. I know I'm going to be surprised when we start going into those weak field lines, just what we'll be experiencing. I've got a feeling that when we do go into those weak field lines, not only will the pole migrate a lot faster, and I'm thinking not years, I'm talking when we get into them weak field lines, that thing's going to shift. And when it does, magnetosphere strength is going to drop dramatically on this planet. I'm just hoping that it does a complete reversal, because if it doesn't, we're in a lot of trouble. And if it stays in a progressive state of not reaching some form of equilibrium where it does make a full reversal and the magnetosphere comes back up, if it stays in a state for years where the magnetosphere is at a weak and low level, perhaps of about 15 to 20%, the amount of radiation is going to be devastating on this planet. And that's just telling you guys how it will be if that's the case. I'm not going to wrap this up in fluff for you. I'm going to just tell you straight, if we end up in a progressive period where the magnetosphere is at very low levels, then it is going to be detrimental to every biodiversity on this planet. So guys, before I go and end the video, I want to say a big thanks to the people on Patreon that have supported us. As you can see, there's 58 there. We've raised $190. That's great. I think we can do a bit better than that. We have got 18,000 subscribers, and you can donate just £1 to this. You can become a patron for just £1. And like I said, I'm going to do a little something special for the patrons next week. What can you buy for £1, guys? You can't even buy a coffee at Starbucks for £1. So we can do something with that pound or that dollar. We can buy equipment with it. We can spend more time getting the awareness out of this, and we can tell the truth as to the real impacts that a magnetic pole will have on people. You can also support us on PayPal if you don't want to become a patron. It's not for everybody, and like I say, we have 18,000 subscribers. We're not a massive channel on YouTube. These gamers have millions of subscribers, and it's a reflection of the times that we live in, guys. And they, yourself, if you've been around on YouTube for a bit, you will know that people support these gamers to play these games, to make them videos. Some of these gamers are multimillionaires through YouTube. We're never going to be in that situation with this observatory, simply because we live in a time where people would rather support a gamer than a scientist with a laboratory, or a scientist with an observatory. We just don't live in that day and age where the mentality is more logic. It's just the way things are, isn't it, guys? Anyhow, guys, I'll be back around the weekend with some more news and updates on what's going on. And I hope you become a patron, or you want to support the channel and the observatory and the website. And there's nothing else to say other than what I usually do. Have a great time, and I'll say what I usually do. Bye for now.